Hey everybody, thanks for being on this next Google Hangout with Viral Marketing. This is Bill Crespo. We're here at Viral's, not headquarters, but I'm in New York. Shaun Farr with Landvoice is in Utah. Shaun is the Chief Revenue Officer for Landvoice. Scott is the Chief Marketing Officer for Viral. And this is Bill Crespo, Business Coach. And we're here to talk to you about some very important prospecting tips. Take some good notes, okay? Because every time that we do this hangout, I get a lot of calls back saying, hey, that was great, and can you send me? So remember that if you have any questions, please email me at billcrespo@verizon.net, and we'll get you all the information you need from this call, scripts, or whatever. So first of all, I'm excited about Shaun. I've got a whole bunch of great questions to ask Shaun. And Shaun, thanks for being on, and also Scott for managing this whole process with us. And we want to talk about expireds, we want to talk about scripts, and we want to talk about the tools that are necessary for you to go to pro. And I want to talk to Shaun about what are some of the latest techniques in capturing expired numbers, because that seems to be a challenge for everybody. I don't have enough numbers. There's two sets of databases. Explain how you guys capture these numbers and what seems to be the trend in expireds right now, Shaun.
Yeah, Bill, first of all, thanks for having me. It's great to be here with you and Scott, and just a real pleasure for us. Expireds are obviously one of the just great pillars of income that realtors use to really build their business. And there's a lot of different ways to go out there and find phone numbers. We realize that. There's a lot of agents out there that just go find them on their own. At Landvoice, we try to take additional steps to automate everything that the realtor does so that every morning when they come into the office, they can simply log into their Landvoice account and acquire all of those phone numbers. A few years ago, we were trying to find the best databases out there to get the best phone numbers. And it's a little bit of a science. You know, when you're looking for phone numbers, people are constantly moving, changing numbers, disconnecting numbers. And so there's a constant constant work on our side to get the best numbers out there for every realtor. And so we've worked with many different databases to get the best numbers out there. We found a couple things work really, really well for our agents. First, when an MLS gives you an address of an expired lead, the problem with that address is you don't know if there's a tenant living in that property or if it's the actual owner. And so Landvoice goes through an additional step of actually going to the county record, finding out if the owner lives in that home or if they live somewhere else. You know, if I've got a home in Palm Springs that I'm selling, but I don't live there, and there's a tenant in that property, it does me no good to look up the phone number of that tenant.
Right.
And so we find the actual absentee owner first. We find out where does that owner actually live. Once we know their actual address, then we go and find the phone number. Now, like I mentioned, we've experienced with many different databases to get phone numbers, but what we found is a really kind of private detective-like database that does a really good job now at finding phone numbers. The problem was it was really expensive as well, and that's where we developed Pro. So let me talk to you about expired and Pro, because a lot of agents do have that question that you mentioned earlier. With our normal expired leads, if an agent has 100 expired leads that they're going to upload to our system to get all the phone numbers, our expired system will find about 65% of all those phone numbers. And it's been upgraded where it's now getting cell phone numbers, and it's telling the client whether it is a home phone or a cell phone number. But we've always found that 65%, that's not good enough. And that's where we developed Pro. With Pro, it's an add-on to our regular expired leads. It's going to get 90 to 95% of all the phone numbers. So when we're missing 30 to 35% of all those numbers, by upgrading to Pro, we're now going to be able to find all of those numbers as well. And so it's just a more elite database that's going to find additional phone numbers that no other system is out there finding, which is really the value to a lot of agents. You know, if there's sometimes the complaint for a lot of agents is they're going to call 50 expired leads, and it's kind of a race, right, to contact that owner as soon as possible. But what Pro does is Pro gets these agents in touch with a lot more owners that no other agent is contacting. Now, in the past, they used to have to upgrade those leads to Pro. So they would find, when they subscribed to the expired system, and if they got those 60 to 65% of all those numbers, they'd have to take any other address and upgrade those to our Pro system. We've automated that now as well. So when a real estate agent subscribes to Landvoice and they subscribe to Pro, that's automatically done for them. So they're automatically now going to get 90 to 95% of all the phone numbers And so that's the difference between expired leads and expired pro, is it's going to give an additional 30 to 35% of all the numbers that most agents aren't contacting, because if they subscribe to another service, those numbers just aren't available.
So Shaun, real quick, I want to jump in, Bill.
Sure.
What behind the scenes, what are the differences between the regular 65% and then the 95%? What are you guys doing differently? How much more work is going into that to get that type of statistic?
Yeah, that's a great question, Scott. So it's actually just a lot of work, but what we found is that this database that we've gotten access to, it is private detective-like. It's a database that is finding those hard to reach, those hard to find people, and what we're now doing is not only finding the home number but the cell number, and that's the real value add. So to the first timers, Bill, to those agents that are just kind of getting started, we always recommend, well, just start with the expired leads. But we know there's a lot of agents out there that base their whole business around prospecting expireds and for sale by owners. And those guys that are really hardcore agents that really get into prospecting, they need to be using Pro, because now they're contacting owners that no one else is contacting. Let me give you a real quick example. I don't mean to filibuster this webinar. But we had a client about a year ago down in San Diego, and he was subscribed to 3 different expired services. So to Landvoice, he was expired to us, but he's also expired to 2 other companies that were also providing expired leads. And the reason he did that is because no one was finding all of the numbers. And what we told him is, you know what, give up those other 2 services and just subscribe to Pro. Because he had those 100 leads, and Landvoice was getting him 60 to 65% of the numbers. A couple of other companies were getting 50 to 55% of all the numbers. The problem we think is, well, one company's going to get a few, another company's going to get a few, but what we're here to tell you is 50 to 60%, those are the easy numbers. Everybody can find those.
Right.
After that 60 to 65% of all the numbers, that it gets really difficult. So he did. He took all those difficult numbers that no one was finding phone numbers for. He upgraded those to Pro, which you don't have to do anymore because it's all just done for the agent. But he contacted a $3 million owner and a $4 million property that had been listed that were expired. And the first call he made was to a cell phone at 8:05 in the morning. And the homeowner basically said, "How did you find my cell phone number?" And he just touted himself. He said, "Well, that's the kind of agent I am. I'm good and I'm resourceful. We should probably talk so I can help you sell this home." And it was really just a benefit not only for the agent but for the homeowner to find an agent that could help him sell that home much faster than what he'd experienced in the past.
And that probably paid for the service for about a couple of years, at least.
Yeah, probably the next 20 years, actually.
Yeah. So Shaun, what's really neat about this service, and I just want to go back to, for those of you that are listening and maybe listening after the fact, that starting out with the first level of expireds is a good training ground to be ready. Remember the expired, and let me just say something for teams, that you don't want to just hand the expired program or this to an inexperienced person on your team. This is the highest level of skill I believe you need to have. And there's FISBOs and things like that, but with the expireds, if you give it a shot and you lose it, it's hard to get it back. Don't you think, Shaun? I mean, if you're going to have a team member, you could always go back. Now, what's really cool now is that you can go even back so many years and grab expireds where people have, they're always saying, "I don't have enough numbers." So explain to me how you guys go back years after years to go get past expireds. How does that work?
Yeah, you mentioned this being exciting, Bill. This is really where a lot of agents right now around the country are just differentiating themselves from people that are prospecting and trying to build their business. Old expireds is just a genius and a perfect way to build your business right now. So back last year in 2013, everyone remembers the low inventory days when there just wasn't a lot of expireds or a lot of properties. So what we found is many of our clients were going back in their MLS and finding a lot of expireds from previous years, 2010, 11, 12, and they were taking those because that's when the inventory was much higher. And what they would do is they'd send all those through the Landvoice system or through another system and get phone numbers. And we got to thinking, we said, well, geez, let's say 2010, there might be 2,000, 3,000 expired leads from 2010. And so they'd send all these through the Landvoice system to get phone numbers. The problem we saw, though, with calling 2,000 leads is many of those were short sales and foreclosures. Many are active now on the MLS, and a lot of them have sold since then. So Landvoice found a way to get rid of all the garbage, all the noise, and filter out all of those properties that weren't expireds. And what our clients are now doing is subscribing to an old expired service where we get rid of all the noise, send that through our pro database to get all the cell phone numbers on 90 to 95% of all those numbers. And now the agent is not wasting time calling 2,000 leads. They might now just be calling 200 old expireds, and those are the owners that gave up on the market when the economy was weak. Well, a lot of real estate agents are finding just an incredible amount of success by calling old expired leads. And I wanted to give you an example when we have to kind of talk about that a little bit. So real quick, the example, so a different client of ours, ironically, he was also in San Diego. Now, first of all, real estate agents can do this on their own. They can go to their MLS and go find all the phone numbers, and we highly recommend that. But if we can help in any way to save them time by not calling 2,000 leads, we'd love to do that as well. And so that's what Landvoice does, is filters all of those out. So let me talk to you just about the message. So this real estate agent in California started contacting old expired leads, and he listed $9 million in property in his first 45 days working with old expired leads. So it's an incredible amount of success that he did great things with.
Yeah, and what's neat with this too is that okay, so let's go to the beginning. You have the information, you're making the calls, you're into some other areas where a lot of people are not playing because some people are scared. I'm going to talk about scripts in just a second and what to say. But then what's really neat, remember in the old days, years ago, they used to tell us, okay, to get out of your financial problems, go do 100 contacts a day. And I'm going, how the heck do you do 100 contacts a day? Well, in those days, we didn't have these services that we're going to talk about in just a second. I had to dial into my left, dial to my right, and I have 2 headsets on with 2 microphones, and I'm calling 100 people a day. Well, now it's different. You know, people thought I was on drugs or something, and I was just one of many of them around the country, because our coach said, make 100 contacts a day, and that will get you out of debt, and that get you. So now it's different. So explain to me now with the expireds and what you're doing to do more calls in an hour than ever before. How do you guys do that, and what's your services for that?
So real quick, before you answer that, Shaun, I want to jump in here. Just so you know, guys, please ask your questions throughout this whole entire webinar. We want to answer them for you. And then, yes, this will be recorded and posted after the fact, just so you all know. So go ahead, Shaun. Sorry to interrupt there.
Yeah, no thanks, Scott. Thanks, Bill. So what we found is as we continue to expand and provide expired and for sale by owner leads, there were a lot of leads for our real estate clients to follow up with. And we know real estate agents have a lot on their plate. And so our focus at Landvoice is just to simplify and reduce anything we can for the real estate agent, just to make it automatic. Well, making those 100 dials, like you mentioned, Bill, is really a grind in the morning, is make those contacts, make them in the afternoon or the evening, and then you don't get a hold of all of them, so you want to try and follow up with them the next day or the next afternoon. But the problem is you have new leads the next day as well, and so it's really a grind to try and touch base with them, as many of these leads as possible. So we're really proud at Landvoice to announce a dialing system, the Landvoice, to contact all of these leads, and everything's integrated so they don't have to, you know, back in the olden days, they'd take the leads from Landvoice and they'd upload it to another dialer. Well, we're really excited to announce the Landvoice dialer. And so this is going to, again, simplify everything that the real estate agent is doing. And we're also trying to give them choices, because there's a lot of real estate agents out there that they like to use a dialer, but they only want to call one line at a time. And there's dialers out there that will allow them to do that. Landvoice has a dialer that will allow them to call one line at a time, or we can give them a power dialer that will allow them to call 2, 3, or 4 lines at a time. And so the power dialer is really an interesting product, because now you're really getting in touch with all of the leads as quickly and as fast as possible, reaching out and leaving messages to all of the leads that they're interacting with.
Yeah, so now and for the teams that are out there, again, I coached all over the country. I've got guys that have small teams and big teams. I believe that, first of all, if you're going to hire an inside salesperson, you want to coach them on how to use these systems, because this is a high-performance engine, right? I mean, you really, to use it, either call Shaun, Landvoice, and get yourself trained to use it, because I see this is a a very powerful system. If used correctly, it can make you a lot of money. Where do you see some of the mistakes that people make by getting a dialer?
Yeah, you know, the one thing about a dialer is you really, there's a lot of guys out there and guys and gals that are just prospecting. They've been doing it for years. I strongly recommend, if you want to get into the dialing industry and start contacting your leads much faster, start with just the one-line dialer. Just start calling leads and just dial one lead at a time. And eventually, you're going to get your scripts down. You're going to really begin mastering the prospecting skills with everything that you teach, Bill. And as those scripts become more and more powerful and more effective as you practice those and become a professional with those scripts, that's when the opportunity will arise for you to kind of grow the business and begin using the power dialer where you're calling 2 and 3 and even 4 numbers at a time. But it doesn't come overnight. So set goals of how many contacts you want to meet or make every day, and then from there continue to grow with those goals and grow your businesses as you continue to contact more and more leads.
Good advice. So start off with one and then build yourself up. Now, I want to talk about scripts. Scott, so should we talk a little bit about scripts a little bit here?
Yeah, well, real quick, I got a question from Thomas.
Sure.
He asked, Bill, do you leave voicemails using the dialer? That can be fine for both of you. Do you leave voicemails, or do you move on when you're using the dialer?
You know, that's a good question for Shaun. I could tell you that without a dialer, you don't have that ability to leave a message because it slows you down. But now tell them how the dialer works, because the dialer has changed, in my view, because typically I don't like leaving messages because everybody else does. But with the dialer, tell them how that works, because it's a little bit different. Shaun? Yeah,
the neat thing about the dialer is everything with voicemails are pre-recorded. So you pre-record your voicemails, and specifically with the power dialer, when a voicemail pops up and you're calling 2 people at a time, you can simply push a button to play a pre-recorded voicemail while it's still dialing another number. Now, you do want to make sure your voicemails are effective, and maybe that's another call, Bill, that we can talk about proper scripting of voicemails and what to say. I highly recommend, that there's a little bit of urgency or some type of teaser in the voicemail. You got to leave something to make that owner want to call you back. And so there does need to be a little bit of just thought into how we record these voicemails and what exactly we say if we do want to leave voicemails, because a lot of agents don't, Bill. A lot of agents just want to make contact. And so it'll depend on the different, so we call them different campaigns. Maybe on a follow-up campaign where you're following up with expired from a week or 2 ago, maybe you do want to start leaving messages. Everybody does it a little bit differently, and so we can kind of go into that or talk about some of those strategies as well.
Yeah, Scott, do we have any other questions? I can go into something.
There's no other questions right now, but I was going to ask Shaun. We kind of talked about the other day. What other leads are you guys generating? What other lists are you generating that people are working that would be helpful to kind of learn about here?
Yeah, there's actually a growing opportunity to reach out to more and more owners throughout the country. Most people out there will know and remember Landvoice. Our core, and it will always be our core, is for sale by owner leads and expired leads. But we are trying to diversify to become more of a one-stop shop to help real estate agents succeed. And that's our mission and our goal, is to help real estate professionals achieve abundance. So some other opportunities that are out there, there's a just listed, just sold product. And we love this product. For anyone that's trying to do geographic farming, this is a fantastic product that will allow you to do that. I shared a story on a video on our website. I put my home up for sale in February of this year. Trying to sell a home in Utah in February isn't the most... It's just not the best idea with snow and cold weather and everything else. But the market was fairly hot this year, and it sold in 8 days. Well, when I told my neighbors that my home sold in 8 days, they all started putting their home on the market. And so anytime you list or sell a home, you simply pump that address into the Landvoice system, and we're going to find you 50 to 100 homes right around that address. And your message is simply, listen, I just sold your neighbor's home in 30 days or 45 days. Have you ever considered selling? Or sending postcards or whatever campaigning that you're doing to really brand yourself in those neighborhoods just listed, just sold leads is a simple radius search that allows you to do all of your geo farming. So that's one answer to your question, Scott. There's a lot of other products out there as well.
Excellent. So I just got another question that we can answer. It's on topic from Thomas again. He wrote, one of the biggest problems in our area is that we have a lot of strong agents and clients are just getting bombarded. In fact, we have so many people calling expireds and for sale by owners that we are actually getting complaints to our brokerage to stop. What do you guys say to that?
Yeah, let me touch base on that a little bit because, that's been around for a while. So here's what happens. And I hate to say this, doing power prospecting around the country, not everybody's very. So typically, a majority of the real estate agents are closing very hard. So that shuts you down. The one thing that I highly recommend is that when the expired, let's look at expireds and for sale by owners first. If an expired says, you know what, we don't know what we're going to do, we're going to take it off the market for a while. Most agents will shut down and say, when can I call you back? Here's what I suggest to you guys out there that are prospecting expireds. When someone says, I'm not interested in doing anything right now, or we want to take it off the market, we're very tired, the question you need to ask is this, you may want to write this down, is let me ask you this, Mr. Seller, if we get a phone call for your neighborhood, would you be offended if I gave you a call? Okay, now watch. What we're doing here is to see what their motivation is in selling. So if they say, hey, no problem, please give me a call, quickly you go right into right after they say, yes, that's okay, fantastic. So that I know more about your property, I'd like to come by and spend 15 or 20 minutes to take a look at it. Now here's why I'm saying that. The agents are just calling. No one's going to the door with expireds. Your office. You got to get out of the office. My goal with my clients is that if you're doing FSBOs and expireds, that you're either going to be in one house to get a listing, that you have a bona fide listing appointment, or you have 2 previews going on a day. Now this is on the listing side. I know this is buying side, but listen again. 1 listing appointment per day or 2 previews. Those previews would add up to finally getting called. Why? Because no one else is going to the house. Everybody else is just calling. You need to get out of the office in the afternoon. That's how I would solve that. Now, but your tonality is important. If you're too busy sounding like a telemarketer, it's not going to work. That's why at Power Prospecting, when we have it, we teach you how to talk better. You've got to watch your tonality. You've got to watch your scripts so that you don't sound so much like a salesperson. They don't want to deal with a salesperson. Go ahead.
So Bill, let's go through it. Let's go through a mock script so people can hear it and they can understand what you're talking about. Yeah.
So there's several ways that we can go about it. There have been scripts that always do surveys, and I could probably talk about this. That if you do a survey, that goes around the do not call situation. Now, years ago, we used to not have to, and I read the law just recently, that a survey is not into that do not call list scenario. You could actually call for a survey. It's when you're selling something you get yourself in trouble with a do not call. And that's a subject we won't get into because that's very controversial, but I love it when people get scared about calling the do not call list. Besides that, the script. So, Scott, why don't you be the expired and I'll just be the agent, and be nice to me because, we only got So, okay, so I'm going to call up and go, ring, 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 and you're going to say hello.
Yep. Hello?
Hi. I'm calling about the house for sale. I'm not sure if you can help me. Is that still available?
Well, we just came off the market yesterday.
Oh, you just came off the market. Okay, great. My name is Bill Crespo, and I'm just wondering, when do you think it'll be back on the market again?
Well, I'm not really sure, Bill. I've been getting kind of bombarded this morning with a lot of calls, and we're just not really sure what we want to do. We really had a pretty poor experience, obviously, since our home's expired now. So.
Wow. It sounds like you're really fed up with all these calls you've been getting.
Yeah, it's been a lot, and it's hard to kind of grasp. I'm not really sure, what to trust, who to trust anymore at this point.
So, Scott, let me ask you this question too. Now, are you planning on putting on the market later on down the road, or what was the reason why you were selling?
Well, we were selling because we thought it was a good time. We wanted to get a good price, and we're looking to move into a different area of town. Right.
Okay. What do you think stopped the home from selling?
I'm just not sure what whether the agent was doing the right job or whether it was the pricing, I can't really tell you. It wasn't, there wasn't enough communication.
All right, so what you're saying is that you just didn't hear a lot of communication from your agent on a regular basis. Is that right? Correct. Okay, good. So are you allowing people to still go buy the house, or you're just completely off the market for a while?
I'm not sure right now. I mean, it just depends on the situation, I guess.
All right. So let me ask you this. If we get a phone call for your neighborhood and someone that's interested, would you be offended if I gave you a call?
No.
Okay. Okay, great. So, Scott, so that I can know more about the property, because it's very important that I see what I'm selling, is it okay for me to come by today or tomorrow after 3 o'clock for 15 or 20 minutes to take a look at the property, get some more information about it?
Yeah, that'd be okay.
Okay, so that's simple. I mean, the point here is that we're having a conversation. I'm not saying, hey, I'm a great agent. You got to see me now because we've got all these great things and I'm a great company and my parents love me. You've got to get away from selling, okay, because people are being sold all day long. That was very simple. I know it's very easy because I could hear the agents on the other end going, Bill, that was a lay down. The point here is that the tonality and how people are speaking is important. So I want to touch base on a script to be effective should have curiosity, doubt, and urgency in it. You're conveying curiosity, doubt, and urgency in the script to be effective when you're talking to someone. So at times we're just going to have to remember how to do, and I teach this in my class, how to freestyle through scripting, because sometimes we're so into the words that we don't even sound normal. So you're going to have to kind of freestyle. So let me go back to a question for you, Shaun. And I know that a couple of these products I've been with, let me just say, before Landvoice, it was Warnock's, and I've probably been using you guys for, gosh, 15, 16, 17 years, and then this evolution changed. So things have changed dramatically in what we have to do in prospecting. I see a lot of teams developing now and using what we call the inside salesperson for outbound calling. And how does this work for a team? How do we track these leads on the system when we're developing our teams so that we penetrate markets and start getting more market share back?
So with the team, you're asking, Bill, just how they track all the leads, how they keep track of it?
Yeah, because let's say, for instance, you may have 3 people calling for a team, outbound. Okay, so do you need 3 dialers, or is it one system that everybody taps into? How does that work?
Yeah, there's a couple ways we can do this. There is a team-type system built in the dialer where they can all call and sync and integrate. Most agents are going to call and have their own account and sync all of their notes and their leads and everything else. But if there is a team, let's say there's a team of 3 to 5 people, what they'll do is they'll talk with one of our success coaches. They'll establish a plan of how to integrate and sync those leads, but everything's in the cloud. And so when they leave a note or when they cross out a number or when they tag a lead, everything's in the cloud, and so it's all synced. So, I'm on my laptop and then I go to my work computer, or my team members on another computer. Everything syncs there in that account. So we just need to make sure that the success coach knows exactly what they're working with, whether they're working individually or with a team, and then they can help them to make sure that it syncs and it's integrated and all the notes are there for the entire team.
Okay, good. So it works well with the team too. Excellent. What about sign calls? Okay, so we're looking at outbound calls. Then we've got inbound calls coming in, and you've got systems for that. Tell me about the inbound leads that are coming in. What systems do you have that you found to be effective in what you guys are doing at Landvoice?
Yeah, thanks. And I wanted to kind of answer that question that came up from the client on this call too, because I think both of these questions correlate. We are hearing that from a lot of agents. The FSBOs, the expireds, are getting a lot of calls. How do I get around that when all of these clients, and Bill, what you said is exactly true, but that's why we've actually launched these other products, is to help you get around some of these concerns where a FSBO is being inundated with 100 calls every morning. So just real quick, 3 solutions to that. One is Expired Pro. Like I mentioned before, out of 100 leads, everybody's calling 50 to 60% of those leads. If you actually subscribe to Pro, you're now calling leads that no one else is calling because no one else can find those phone numbers. So that's one solution if you're getting tired of calling people that are getting inundated with calls, is Pro. Pro is going to help you call leads that no one else is calling. The second is old expireds. There's a few people calling old expireds, but the cool thing about old expireds is no one's getting a phone call anymore. And so when they get that phone call from you, and you're letting them know as an agent, hey, listen, I've got quite a few buyers in my area, and I noticed that you tried to sell your home 2 years ago. Have you ever considered reselling? And they haven't gotten a call in 2 years from a real estate agent. How cool is that when they're contacting old expireds, right? Because the owner's like, yeah, actually, I've been meaning to put it back on the market. Thanks for calling. Like I mentioned, I've got quite a few buyers. Do you mind if I come by and see the home so I can tell them a little bit more about it and what kind of shape it's in? It becomes a really fast listing appointment. And our clients love old expireds because there aren't 50 and 80 and 100 other realtors calling those old expireds. So that's another solution to help when they're kind of getting frustrated calling the same leads that everyone else is calling. So pro, old expireds, and then the one you were referring to, Bill, I think is a new technology that we've just launched, and that is call capture. Call capture technology, many of the agents that are listening to this webinar today may have used call capture in the past, but might not have caught the vision of what call capture can really do. You know, the really frustrating thing about calling a FSBO is, like we've just mentioned, 50 other people are also calling that FSBO. But if I have a call capture technology, I'm not even interested anymore on closing that FSBO. I'm simply going to call that FSBO and say, listen, I'm not like the other real estate agents. I don't want to list your home. I simply want to help you sell your home, and I'm going to do that for free by putting a sign with an 800 number, and I'm going to give you a multi-million-dollar technology that's going to allow you to sell your home faster. And they're going to say, well, wait a minute, you don't want to sell my home? No, I just want to help all the buyers that are going to see your home find your home to sell or to buy your home, but not everyone's going to be able to buy your home. And so all of those other buyers, I'm going to help them find a home. And so our call capture technology allows the real estate agent to put a sign writer or a sign up to help sell that FSBO. But what they're doing is now capturing all of the buyers that are going to see that FSBO. And it really surprises FSBOs, because FSBOs, they're used to trying to be closed right there on the phone by all the other real estate agents.
Right.
With call capture, we're going to say, I don't want to sell your home, but I do want to help all those other buyers that don't buy your home buy another home. And that turns into 20 or 30 or 40 more leads for that real estate agent. And for that team that has all these buyers agents, it's going to create more leads for them as well. And so this is another way to get around that FSBO concern. Man, there's 50 other agents that are calling the FSBOs. Well, with the Landvoice call capture technology, you can tell that FSBO straight up right when you call them, I don't want to sell your home, but I do want to help you, or I don't want to list your home, I guess is the real message, right, Bill?
Right.
I don't want to list your home, even though it will turn into a listing more often than not because they've offered such a great service to that homeowner.
What about, and this could work for existing listings too, not just for FSBOs. If you have 20 listings, you still want to capture that too, correct?
Exactly, and especially with those teams that you were referring to before, because we're so focused on seller leads, this is going to help us build that buyer's agents team as well. The team of all the buyer's agents is going to feed more leads to them as we've got a listing or as we have an expired lead. Every time we put that sign writer up and someone drives by to call and get that price of that home, that buyer's team, the team of buyer's agents, are going to get a text that somebody just drove by the home and is interested in buying a home. And so it's a really effective way to build the team of not only our seller's agents but also the buyer side as well.
Right. Well, you've got a system to funnel leads, and what's really neat, Scott, right now is that this is becoming a lot more sophisticated than ever before in running an organization. Lead capture and lead conversion it's huge right now. And what's happening is with all these great systems, you still need to determine what's your conversion rate. So the leads are coming in. Are we converting 20%, 30%? You know that internet leads are only converting at 1%, maybe 2% at best. You've got live leads coming in. Their hands are up saying, I do want to sell, or I sold before. They're looking for the most professional person. This is why I say that if you're an amateur in this business today, you're not going to make as much money. You've got to work on going to the pro level, having pro tools, as Shaun said, going to workshops as power prospecting. I know it sounds like we're selling this thing, but let me tell you something. The education in sales in real estate is fairly poor. Okay, these tools are going to help you to go at a level that appears to be different. Actually, your presentation is your words, and then using the tools will help you. So Scott, anything else that's come up there? So before I jump into another category,
Yeah, actually, we have a couple questions for Shaun. One was from Matt Sutherland. Says, how does Landvoice differ from the Mojo dialer?
Good.
Good question.
Good. Yeah, there's a lot of real estate agents out there using Mojo, and Mojo's a great dialer. And if you're using Mojo, you're probably happy with it. The one way that it's really going to be different is we offer a lot of different types of leads, and it's going to integrate everything into the dialer instead of you having to upload those leads into a dialer every day. That's one difference. The other difference is Mojo is a power dialer. It'll call 1, 2, or 3 numbers at a time. This Landvoice dialer will call up to 4 numbers at a time, so it just allows those that are really heavy into prospecting make a few more contacts every day as they're using the Landvoice dialer. It is a web-based platform. Mojo in the past was a software you had to download. They're now moving into a web-based platform as well. But what you're going to see is just very simple, easy integration because it's Landvoice leads and a Landvoice dialer. Everything's going to integrate very quickly and very fast. You're simply going to log into Landvoice every morning. Instead of having to go into some system and download your leads and then upload those to Mojo, everything's going to integrate very quickly. And it's a power dialer that's going to allow them to call up to 4 numbers at one time.
That's great.
Excellent. All right, I got a couple more questions we can go through here.
Go ahead.
Another one from Thomas March. How does Landvoice differ from Cole Resources? And I really don't know what that is. Do you know what that is, Shaun?
Yeah. Cole does a great job with Just Listed, Just Sold. It gives a great radius search. Landvoice is just what we're really trying to do is, again, simplify and reduce and become a one-stop shop for real estate agents. So rather than getting your Just Listed, Just Sold from one company and your expireds from another company and your FSBOs from another company and your dialers somewhere else, we're going to try and help you do all of that. And we've worked very aggressively this past year to make sure that you have a dialer in one spot with your FSBOs and your expireds and with Pro and your old expireds and your call capture technology and your geo-farming with Just Listed, Just Sold. It's all now under one roof, and we're going to continue to grow and expand to make sure that you've got everything you need to be successful as a real estate agent.
Awesome. And then the last question here from Brad Anderson. For the FSBO call capture that you were just talking about, does the actual call go through to the agent or the owner? Good.
Great question. So there'll be a sign writer that will go up on top of your sign with an 1-800 number and an extension. And these extensions are going to allow you to track which home that lead just called. That goes directly to the real estate agent, and you're going to get not only a call or have a voicemail that's recorded, but you're going to get text sent to whatever team member you want. So every extension could go to a different phone number on your team, or if you're just working by yourself as an agent. So all of your social media marketing you can do, you can use with call capture. You can use your online marketing. You can use all of your sign writers and all of your flyers, because let's face it, as a real estate agent, when you print 50 flyers and go and put that in a home you just listed, and you go back 3 days later and all the flyers are gone but you haven't gotten one call, call capture is going to allow you to capture all of those leads and not have to print flyers anymore as well, which is going to save you money and bring in more leads. And so it's a tremendous technology, but to answer the question, it goes directly to the realtor or to the team member working as part of that team.
And go ahead. I was just going to say something on these flyers. As I coach my clients, I am not recommending putting those tubes or any flyers in front of the house. As Shaun said, it's a lot of work. You're overloading your people, and you really don't have a good gauge if you're getting traffic or not. The IVR system really gives you a better quality of a client or prospect that's calling. This thing with the flyers has been around for eons, and it really is more to satisfy the sellers, but we're not really capturing the right lead. But that was a good point you made there.
Okay, so we got another question here from Mandy Cruz. How is your system different from Vulcan 7?
Good. Another great product. Guys, there's a lot of choices out there, and it doesn't matter where you go, just do something. If you're doing expired somewhere, that's great. So Vulcan is a fantastic company. They've got expireds, they've got for sale by owners, they've got the just listed, just sold, just like Landvoice. I'll tell you two differences. one thing that everyone knows Vulcan for is great phone numbers. I can tell you that the Landvoice system is using the exact same database as Vulcan. And so we're getting very high-level phone numbers with cell phone numbers, both Landvoice and Vulcan. So what you're going to see now, the only differences between Landvoice and Vulcan is that we do have a lot of other products, like the call capture and the old expireds, and you're also going to see a difference in price. Landvoice is going to save you money while still giving you very high-level leads with cell phone numbers, and you're going to see a difference in the dialer. At Vulcan, they offer a dialer, and it's fantastic. It's a one-line dialer, and you can contact one lead at a time. Landvoice will give you that same option, but will also allow you to subscribe to a power dialer that will allow you to call 2, 3, or 4 numbers at a time. Making more contacts every morning is going to be huge for your business to continue to be successful, and just set yourself apart from what everyone else is doing out there. And so the major differences between us and Vulcan, both very high-level leads with high accuracy. The differences are going to be price. You're going to save money with Landvoice, and you're going to have options with power dialers and with other products that Vulcan doesn't currently offer.
Great, thanks for that answer. And so I was going to say, you know, now that we talked about all these different leads that these agents can get, I think the most important thing for them is being able to convert the leads, right? Let's make some money. So let's talk about best practices or strategies to actually get these leads converted, whether it's the scripts or the when you should be calling, you know, what you need to be saying, how consistent and frequent, and then maybe even tracking where the business is coming from. Let's talk about a little bit about that.
Yeah, you know what's interesting is that this whole team development has caused us to concentrate more with prospecting. I have a team right now that actually did 267 appointments in 1 month, having a specific group of people calling. 267. Now, back to that's a great number, but the conversion at the very end is low. So if you have a team that's calling and you don't have the agents that are converting them, you have a problem. But right now what we're talking about is that having a specific time every day. We'll go back to the old school that we've talked about before of training. You've got to have a set time. And if there's the one thing that I have to work with my clients on is the what I call the squirrel syndrome, right? You're just, everything is, you know, and the window's here. And guys, this is money time. Your job, guys, is all about making these phone calls. And I think what we lose, and I don't know what we call ourselves in real estate, but we are prospectors. We're salespeople primarily. And so if you're a salesperson, you're looking for people that you know or you don't know. And one of those groups are supplying you with a lot of business. I put down that there are really 3 areas in your business that has to be working before you start to grow to the next level. One is lead generation, second is administration, and then database. But in lead generation, if it's a big team, there needs to be at least out on 6. Now, if you're a small team, you've got to be doing at least 3 a day. That's been like that for a long time. Going less than 3 does not give you the law of averages working out. And then with the power dollars, we've got more going on. The just listed, just sold call. It was funny, Shaun, that what you were talking about, your house selling. The script that we're going to be using on the just listed, just sold call is what happened to you. Hi, Mr. Seller. We just listed a house for sale 30 days ago and just sold, which is your house, Shaun. It sold for X, and we know when one sells like that, usually 2 or more sell right away. So I'm asking you, who do you know that may be thinking about buying or selling? Now, we're not asking the particular person we're calling, but guess what? They may say that we're thinking about selling. But you just said it. Other people in your neighborhood put their house on when they knew yours were for sale. If we're not tapping into those markets, guys, and let me just leave this hint for you. If you have 2 or more sales going on in a particular geographic area, you need to start using the just listed, just sold numbers to start to penetrate that marketplace. So even if you have a favorite neighborhood, but you have 2 sales in the last 18 months in a specific neighborhood, you now have that as your farm. And then you go into the just listed, just sold script and start putting those numbers in. Shaun, do you have any comments on that? Because I think that's key right now.
It really is. You've got to be the specialist in a specific neighborhood. You've got to be geographic farming. 5 of my neighbors put their home on the market within 30 days of my home selling.
5.
If anyone would have geo-farmed my neighborhood right after it sold, it was huge. And all of those homes sold within 30 to 45 days. And it was incredible and just a real eye-opener for me of how powerful geo-farming can be when you're sending the right message and really just making sure you're branding yourself and your business in those specific neighborhoods.
Right, and guys, scripting is going to be important. So the Just Listen, Just Sold script, if you don't have it, email me, I'll send you that. The expired script is your highest level of scripting. You need to practice the expired script because, as Shaun said, you can go around with the old call, with the old numbers, but also you still have to sound good. You could still lose a sale on an old expired call. So we've got to get our level of tonality up and get to a time that we're practicing at least 3 times a week on and record yourself. And with Landvoice, I believe you could record yourself and listen to your conversations. But is there any legalities to recording in some states, or can we record everywhere the way with your system?
Yeah, there are some legalities there, and it's got to be disclosed that call is being actually recorded. So we've got to be careful of that. And again, our success coaches, when you're talking to a member of our team, can help you answer some of those questions as well.
Right. So I think you need to, if we could record our calls, that's going to help us to get a lot better with your system and a lot of systems right now. If not, you're going to have to videotape it like this is going on and go back into role play. So let's talk about the future of this business. And I wanted to ask you another question. How these other numbers, where are they coming from? In other words, I have clients that when you're doing Expired Pro, it's a cousin or a sister of a person who lived in that house. How does that happen?
Only with an elite database. There's, like I mentioned before, there's some really fun databases out there. A lot of people will jump online and do a search manually for a name. Those are kind of the public databases out there that we've used in the past and they've been okay. But what we've found is this just proprietary database that's extremely private detective-like, that, like you mentioned, Bill, that'll find a neighbor or a cousin. And we're trying to actually limit that a little bit, just depending on the real estate agent's success and their preferences. But it's a database that is extremely good at tracking these people down, a wife or a husband, or any member of family that's lived in that home in the last 6 months.
Does that number, when the number shows, does it have the person's name, or is it just a number on that particular property?
We're actually working on that right now. It'll give a name, and it'll give a number, and it'll identify whether it's a cell phone or a home phone or a business number. Okay. But we're working on actually also adding an icon to tell you if it's the husband or the wife or a daughter or a son, and so that intelligence will come. I don't suspect it'll be for at least 6 months, but there are more mechanisms that we're working on Landvoice to help just educate you on knowing for sure who you're actually calling when you're talking to them.
So does this have anything to do with NSA? No, I'm just kidding. So let me go back, guys. Let me give you a little tip on expireds, in my opinion. For those that have been to prospecting, I just don't. When you have a name, you don't use a name if you can't pronounce it. Don't even attempt it. You could actually just call and say, "Hi, I'm calling about the house. At one time it was for sale. Is it back on the market or had it sold?" You can start off that way, because a lot of times people get a little intimidated by the fact you knew their name. All of a sudden, someone calls me William. The only person who calls me William is if I'm in trouble. My mom's called me William, or someone's looking for money. So, when you use a specific person's name in the beginning, it does turn them off a little bit. So by not using a name, later on you can just say, "Is this Mr. Smith?" Or he may call himself Smythe. So you can verify that later on. That's just a tip. As soon as you start sounding like you've got information, they're going to wonder where you got the information from. So just go in a little bit, backdoor it a little bit. I found that to be really effective in the beginning. Remember, they'll shut you down in 5 seconds if you don't have that sound in your voice. The subconscious is going to pick up the sound of your voice. And there's 3 things that the subconscious mind is picking up on that initial call. 3 things. It's evaluating you, and this is based on study, and I think we've talked about this before. Number 1, they're going to evaluate if you're honest. And this is subconsciously, not consciously. Number 2, do I trust the person? And number 3, is this person an expert? And this is happening on the phone in milliseconds. The brain is assessing this. So if you don't sound like, if you're too busy pushing, let's just say, it may not come across as an honest and a trustful person. So that's why your high Ds that are calling, you got to back down a little bit. And then you demonstrate your knowledge a little bit, not telling them how great you are, but also letting know that you know about the neighborhood. So by understanding the fact that you found out that down the street a couple houses just recently sold, and you're inquiring about that house, just lends itself to make you sound like an expert. Now, the same thing happens when you're in the house. They're assessing you the same way. So I just want to bring that up because a lot of times they hang up on us because whatever happened, the brain assessed that they didn't trust you and you didn't sound like an expert. And if a lot of people sound the same, they're just going to lump you into that group and click. Does that make sense?
So, Bill, I got a question for you. How do you, if someone hangs up on you, what do you do then? Do you call back?
Yeah, that's a great question. If you have the high Ds, and I'm talking to the Ds out there, tend to like to banter with people. So if you had a bad experience and they hung up, just move on. But a lot of times people hang up because they feel that they're in control. But you can just call. I would call them back. A lot of times the power prospecting they've been hung up on, we don't know if it's a mistake, a misconnection. So just call them back. And a lot of times too, they have said, no, I'm not ready right now, and we forgot to close for the appointment. So believe it or not, Shaun, also, we are getting clients to actually book appointments for next year right now. Yeah. Because if they do not book right now, that's either a condition or an objection. So you need to determine, is this an objection or a condition? If expired says, I'm not ready right now, we have to determine that. So you would ask the question, well, when do you think you'll be ready to look at putting your house on the market? Well, it won't be till February of next year. Well, fantastic. When's a good time for me to call you? Well, how about January? Well, why don't we pencil in a time and start to close for an appointment? I have clients right now that are booking appointments in 2015 right now. And Shaun, let me say about the past expireds. One of my clients is using your service said to me just last week that he's never been so piled up with leads for the next year coming up from the old expires. So he is teed up to have an incredible start of 2015 because he already knows how many of these people plan on putting the house on the market. So it's a fantastic tool. Scott, I just cut you off there. Were you saying something?
Oh, no. I was just going to say, if you're setting an appointment that far out into the next year, are you doing anything between now and then to stay in touch so that you're kind of top of mind until you get to that, so that they're not just forgetting about you, blowing you off, or going with some other agent in between now and then?
Yeah, and a couple things. First of all, you're continuing to give them an 8x8, and I have some of my clients that are actually using viral marketing to actually continue with their video blogs. So their video blogs are going out on a regular basis. They're sending them, for those of you that are with Keller Williams, the 8x8, which is they're setting up enough information that goes out to them. Remember, to position them as an expert. So by the time they call next year, you guys are right in it. Because most people are not consistent enough to stay with it. FSBOs is a courtship. And just because you tried it 3 times, it doesn't work, is not the reason to stop. We know that about 85% of the for sale by owners will list in about 90 days. And in some markets less, some markets more. But it is a courtship. The expireds are more immediate, but the FSBOs need time. And sometimes that rolls into the next year, so you're setting up letters, you're sending out the video blogs that you have, keeping them informed, position yourself as an expert as this goes on. So that's what I would recommend doing.
Awesome. So I got a question here for Shaun. Janice asks, Vulcan limits how many agents use its software in each market. Is Landvoice doing the same thing with its new products?
Yeah, great question. So with our expireds and our for sale by owners, we've never limited. We've obviously welcomed as many agents as would like to use the service to do that. But we do have a couple of things. So I've mentioned old expireds in the past, or just on the Landvoice. So if you do choose to ever work with old expireds and you want Landvoice to help filter out those leads, what we do with many of our clients is they select a specific year, 2010, 2011, 2012, and they select a specific zip code, and then we make that zip code exclusive where we don't sell it to any other agent. And so as far as working with clients or trying to find leads that no one else is working with, the old expireds are a lead that will provide kind of an exclusivity to what you're doing in your business. Old expireds as well as the call capture will create unique leads that normally no one else is calling on as well. So those are the two product than others that we're working with.
Excellent. And then we're getting, do you think that Thomas has been asking if we can do some more scripting, role play? We got 5 minutes left here, so guys, if you have more questions, please fire them out, and we'll get them. But what would an old expired script of 5 years ago be like? Maybe we can go through that and what that would be like.
Shaun said it. He had a great script. I mean, you know, you're just making the call, and you know what with his system, you could eliminate a lot of research. You already know it's an old expired. You're going to inquire, hi, I'm calling about the house. At one time it was for sale. I'm trying to find out if it's still available or is off the market. And you know what? I have a script, an entire script. We probably don't have time to go over it right now. But the key is that you are asking the question as if you're just inquiring. Okay? So the first question is it still available? Has it sold? If it's sold or if it's listed, obviously you have to get off the call right away, because you don't want to have a problem with going behind the sign. But if it is, you know, they're still looking to do something with it, you have an opportunity to continue with the script, and I'll send that out. So anybody right now that's interested in that script, please email me at billcrespo@verizon.net, and I'll send you an old expired script that you can use or anything else that you may need. Because you know, scripting takes a long time, and you know, it's not just the words, guys. I just want to make sure that we get hung up on the words. Tonality has a lot to do with it. The fact that you're conversational and don't sound like you're a telemarketer is very, very important. So you've got to learn how to understand the behavior that's necessary with the person on the other end of the phone, because it's just everybody sometimes uses scripts and what's that secret word that's going to do it, and that doesn't always do it. But I'll send out what I have.
Yeah, Bill, how do you feel like tone, you know, your emotion, showing how much you truly care about what you're doing? How much does that really apply to making these phone calls and these scripts?
Well, okay, so your enthusiasm is important, but you have a personality style and that person has a personality style. So we've got to make sure that we listen, because we have to adapt and be versatile to that style that's over the phone. A driver personality doesn't want you to be so enthusiastic. They want to get to the bottom line. So you're going to talk a little bit different. So in the 6 levels of persuasion, which I'm actually teaching in New York today, I'm going to be doing a breakout session tomorrow, we're talking about the 6 principles of persuasion, and one of them is authority. So if you don't sound like you have influence with someone, they're not going to take you seriously. So with high influence, people listen. That's your tonality. That's how you speak. If you sound timid, they don't feel that you have authority, so they don't want to go with you. They hang up.
And then that's a matter of control, asking questions, leading the conversation, correct?
Leading the question, knowing where to go with them, also being definitive and not sounding wishy-washy when you're on the phone. You don't always have to have the answers, but you know that you have a succinct answer instead of asking or sounding like you're not sure. Also having a plan. It's easy for you to say, let's get together so that we can look at all your options. And again, if the option is that you want to go with that other agent, I'm okay with that. But doesn't it make sense to look at all your options? Okay, that's a logical question. Remember one thing too, a question tees up the statement. Never make a statement without teeing it up with a question first, because the question stops that brain from wandering in different directions and listens. So that's a little tip. Before we hang up, we've got a couple seconds here, Scott. I want to give, first of all, a couple dates here. October 6th and 7th, I'm going to be in McLean, Virginia, doing the Power Prospect. I want to make sure if you're interested in signing up for Landvoice, too, you're more than welcome to go to my site, thecrespogroup.com, and we have a link to Landvoice. If you have any questions about that or want to sign up on their product, you go to workshops and you see their logo. Click on that, and that will get you to them. And they have special prices and just special things they're doing for us. If you have any serious questions about technique and technology, you got to call them up directly, because I'm definitely limited on that. October 20th and 21st will be at Frisco, Texas, and doing the power prospecting, and I'll be in Florida in Orlando November 3rd and 4th to do a power scripts class. If you want more information about any of this stuff, just go ahead and email me at billcrespo@verizon.net, and I'll get that to you. We're running short of time. Scott, thanks again. Viral Marketing. Shaun from Landvoice. Have fun in Utah with the guys. Tell them I said hi. And appreciate everybody being on the call today. We appreciate it. We'll be back in 2 weeks. We'll get more into scripting in 2 weeks, or actually in the next month, I guess. I'm trying to rush into another thing with Scott. Is that right?
One
no,
month.
It's gonna be another month.
Yeah, one month.
Second Wednesday of the month. All right,
Second Wednesday of the month, every month, guys. All right, thanks. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Shaun.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
See
guys.
ya. Bye-bye.